All right.
Okay. Salaam alaikum,
Alaikum
Instructor
salam.
Benjamin Bilal.
Akhi. Yes. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, and you?
I'm well. Thank Allah.
I know that's right,
Yes, indeed.
sir.
Good to see you. You're looking great.
Yeah, oh, brother. Praise to Allah. Pray
Indeed.
for you and your family often, and for us this austere body of thinkers, out of the box thinkers. I'm so
Yes.
blessed and rewarded to be a part of this.
Indeed. Indeed. I'm in total agreement with that. I feel it every day, all day long. Just the love and the support that comes
Yes,
from
sir.
doing this work. And I'm happy to see that all of
Oh,
us are still together.
absolutely.
We're still together.
Yes, sir. I
Been
know that's
years,
right, man. We've been
but
working
we're
this
still
ground for a
together.
while now.
Yes, sir. Tilling the soil.
Yes, sir. That's right.
All right.
So how's your
So
wife and family, first of all?
everybody on my side of the fence is doing what they need to do. And fortunately, it's what they love to do.
Good.
Take care of each other, love each other, support each
Yeah.
other,
Yeah. Hmm.
give to each other, and then give to the community. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what any good farmer does.
Yeah.
He doesn't only eat for
I tell
himself.
you,
There's enough there's enough on the farm.
that's
There's
right.
enough in the crops to be able to share.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
So that's what we're
Now
doing with
let's talk
education.
about the cultural bird,
We're gonna
if
talk
you don't
about
mind. Let's
everything you
talk
want
about
to talk
that
about.
cultural. Yeah, the cultural bird has really caught my attention because that goes back to my preschool days when I went into communication studies, radio and television broadcasting and journalism. I had an early minor focus on political science, business management, business law, and I think it was I took a couple of classes on economics as well. But my main interests really have been communication studies, language arts, public speaking, writing. I've been writing as long as I can remember. And before I even heard of Malcolm X, I was studying the dictionary. So, um, I have a pretty good grasp on words because they amaze me, and I've
How
always
so?
been
How so?
amazed by the language. Well,
Yep.
the reason why it amazes me is because you can travel through words.
Mm.
You can
Hmm.
travel through words. Words go inside, and they have an effect. Okay, on your both hemispheres of your brain, your central nervous system, your emotions, your genetic makeup, words.
You know, you're talking my talk.
Yes, sir.
I love it.
So, and I was
Continue,
talking to,
continue. This is great.
yes, I was talking to brother Muhammad Alim Ali, who was one of my study buddies.
Yeah.
And I mentioned to him, I said, uh, when I think about those four birds, I say, if we were to put them in the order of importance, what would you say would be the most important, particularly in terms of cultivating societies, governments, nations, tribes? He said, be culture, the cultural bird. He
Yes.
said, absolutely. I said, the reason I think it's a cultural bird is because the cultural bird represents the seed. See,
Beautiful.
and the seed, when I think about a seed, I think about a translucent organism, okay? Because most of your microbes are translucent.
Yes. You mentioned that
And
yesterday.
yes, and you can't see them with the naked eye, but they
Mm.
spawn galaxies, comets,
Mm.
asteroids from the microbes, not the macrobes, the microbes. So my daughter, who's an engineer, she's getting me a microscope for my birthday on the 14th of May. And I'm so excited to actually get involved with the world of microbiology.
Mhm.
My wife have a problem with lipedema, and we're going to solve it
Yes.
together.
Yes. Yes. It's
They have
already
they had
solved.
one. Yes, it's already solved. Yes, they had a gentleman that was reading his story. His son was a deaf mute, And he was not a scientist, but because of that unique problem with his only son, he was driven to find a cure, to find a way for his son to hear. So he started studying science. He started studying the Fitrah, and he found out that the bones, in his research, that the bones carry sound, and they do.
Yes.
Okay, but remember, we're about 70, 80% water. Water carries memory, but it also carries sound,
Yes.
called sonar.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so he was able to attach a device in the inner ear to the bone, and the bone carried the signals, and he was able to hear. His son was able to hear. Now, there's a young man right now. I think he's out of Houston or Chicago, and he invented a gasoline that turns the microplastics back into petroleum.
Oh my. Goodness is on the rise.
And he created a reactor
Yeah.
to actually take the microplastics and run them through the process. And he's been able to fuel with his gasoline, I think he's called it. He has a name for it, but he's been able to fuel diesel engines, regular engines. He's been able to fuel chainsaws, as well as airplanes. Okay, and then he brought in the solar component. Okay, so that the solar component working with the microwave uh, uh, takes out all of the pollutants if there's any. And obviously, they threaten his life just like they're threatening Traore's life. 20 attempts so far.
Yeah.
This is the world we live in.
Yeah, it is.
We're actually supposed to be, and I know you share this with me. We're sent here by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to solve the problems of the earth. And not just the earth, the cosmos.
Okay.
To explore, discover, innovate, hypothesize, rethink,
And
okay,
synthesize.
and throw out all hypotheses that no longer
And
work. No, yes,
synthesize. We're here to synthesize.
excuse me.
And we're here to synthesize.
Synthesize. That's it. Yes, and I was thinking about the cultural bird, and I said, now, uh, if we've been brought up on fairy tales, make believe, Fantasyland, Alice in Wonderland, folklore that would never be, legends that would never be, false gods, false worship, etc. You've been planting that mindset into the seed of your garden of humanity. Again, we're talking agriculture now, human beings.
Yeah.
Okay, being brought up by the language now, the language manipulators and engineers, to be a dependent class. When the corporations funding the academics to make sure that they have that labor pool ready.
At all times. A standing army, so to speak.
All times. If we're
Fighting
not
for their
interested in
causes. That's right.
yes, we're not interested in your human worth. You're reaching your human potential. And too many of us are going, Benjamin, to our graves unfulfilled
Let me tell
in
you
terms
why
of
they're
our
not
human potential.
interested. Let me
Go
explain to
ahead.
you why they're not interested in human worth with
I'm
an
so sorry. I'm
emphasis.
just full right now. Okay.
Yeah.
Pardon me.
No, I'm gonna let you
Go
roll
ahead.
in a minute. The reason why
Okay. Go ahead.
they're not interested in human worth, you'll understand it when you understand the connection between the English word worth, worth, and the Arabic word warith,
And the
warith.
left. Oh,
Okay.
yes. I know where you're
Warith
going.
means inheritor,
Yeah.
inheritor,
Mm-hmm.
and worth is meant to be inherited.
Mm-hmm.
Your worth, when you leave here, is supposed to be passed down to future generations or to companies and other efforts where that wealth is needed. Even the word wealth is related to worth because L and R are interchangeable. So that's
Yes.
why they don't
You
want
can hear the
any
whammy in the sound
emphasis.
figures.
Yeah, that's why they don't want any emphasis on human worth.
Yeah.
They only want an
And
emphasis
human
on production.
potential.
They only want production
Yes, yes.
that does not
Hmm.
benefit the
Yes,
individual. They're developing
right.
incrementally a socialist system here in America
Yeah, yeah.
where you, no matter how much you work, no matter how much you put into your craft, they're going to decide your percentage of earnings.
Yeah,
They want a socialist, communist. So, Imam Muhammad told us this back in the late 70s.
he did.
He
Hmm.
said that Shaitan
Yeah.
was developing a system to bring the entire Western world into communism. And you can see it plainly now as the
Absolutely, you
nose on
can.
our faces.
You can.
So I have a few other things to say about that the where do
Cultural
we
bird.
begin? Cultural, yeah, the cultural bird.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Um, when we look at the Quran and we think about what they told us was the first word revealed to Muhammad that made him a
Yeah.
prophet in effect. He wasn't a
Hmm.
prophet until Allah spoke to him and asked him to speak back. So when he heard the word Iqra, which is now mistranslated as read, had nothing to
Hmm.
do with read. Iqra means to gather or to collect.
Hmm.
And in the ancient Arabs' agricultural mind, because that's what he was into agriculture.
Hmm.
People like to put those people in the middle of the desert that wasn't growing any life forms, and that's not true. They like to put him in an area of history where the only thing happening around him was the blowing of sandstorms and a big black square box. And they say that was the environment that Muhammad the Prophet was born into. And that's not true. Now,
Hmm.
I'm not going to get into the nuances of that
Hmm.
today.
Okay. Okay.
It's for our second sit down.
Okay. Surely. Sure looking forward to that.
But the word ikra in Arabic is what gave birth to the English word agri, as in agriculture.
Hmm.
The
Okay,
word
I hear it.
ikra gave birth to the English word acre, as in an
Hmm.
acre
Hmm.
of land that needs to be cultivated, which is where the word
Okay.
culture comes from.
Y-
Cultivate.
Yes. Now we have two birds, land
Oh, come
and
on.
culture.
I'm going to let you take it from there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Give me
then
some
and
more.
then you have to give the land life. That's water
There you go.
and sun and fire and
Listen,
fire.
you give the land water, you're giving it molecules now. Now you're into
Yeah.
molecular structure. And
Right.
molecule is where they got that word from the word malik and
Hmm.
malaika, the angels.
Yeah.
We're thinking the angels are these cherubs, these naked butt babies flying around with the wings sticking out of their
Cherubims. Yeah.
backs. You see,
Yes. Yeah.
when the
Hmm.
angels are merely the forces operating in nature
Yes.
to evolve Allah's plan, particularly for the human life structure.
Yes.
Those are angels. Angels are actually the English word, even angel comes from the word agent. These are just agents
Yeah.
for God.
Yeah. Yes.
All of these things,
Yes.
fire, water, all of
Uh,
the four basic birds we're talking about. Now, in the elemental structure, we're
yeah.
talking about water, air, fire, and land.
Yeah.
Those are the
Yeah.
four birds that take
And the love.
wings that become elevated.
Yeah.
You see,
Yes.
in the
You
social
remember that? You
structure, mhm,
go ahead.
in the social
No, go
structure,
ahead.
they take on a different form. The water takes on the form of economics,
Hmm.
the flow of the money.
Hmm.
Now we're talking
Yeah.
about
Yes.
instead of the
Yeah.
flow of the river, right?
Hmm.
We say that the river has a bank.
Yes.
He
It's
calls
right
the
there
river
in
bank
your face.
because
Yes.
water represents economics.
Yes.
When you talk about education, you're talking about fire,
Yes.
the element of fire, because fire gives
Mhm.
light to its surroundings.
Yes.
The symbol of all colleges and universities is the lantern, the lamp, the lamp on top.
Shedding
It's
light.
shown
Yes.
sometimes on top of the structure, right?
Surely.
So that's fire.
Yes.
When you're dealing with
The
the government,
lighthouse.
yeah, the lighthouse also. When you're dealing with
Mm-hmm.
the government, now you're dealing with uh air.
Mm-hmm.
Because people
Mm-hmm.
who come into governmental positions, they like to rise in those positions. You start out as the dog catcher, you become the mayor
Mm-hmm.
of a small town.
Mm-hmm.
Next thing you know, you're running for governor.
Yeah.
Next time we turn around, you're occupying a Senate seat. And you go
Rising.
from a
Yeah.
Senate seat and now you want to run for presidency because air, which is government in this aspect, government
Mm-hmm.
we know is also represented by the mountain that
Yeah.
rises and
Yes.
then it
Yes.
peaks.
Yeah.
It doesn't do like this and
Mm-hmm.
spread out towards
Mm-hmm.
the top. It starts out general and then it peaks out
Mm.
in a very narrow or thin type of
Yeah.
appearance. And that's how
Yeah. It's not
government is.
that.
You don't have
Yeah.
many
That accurate.
presidents. You have one president, but you have many congressmen, you have many senators, you have many
Yes.
mayors.
Yes. Yes.
So government is symbolized by that aspect of the Fitrah, of the four birds.
Yes.
See? And because the air likes to rise, the air gets thinner as it rises, which
Mm-hmm.
means there's less room for volume, for oxygen volume.
Mm-hmm.
You can't breathe as
Mm-hmm.
well when
That's
you're
right.
on the top.
That's right.
The Temptations made a song one time called Standing at the Top.
Yeah.
And they said that when
Mm-hmm.
you're on the top, the only place you can actually go is down, down, down.
Stars rise and fall.
That's what it is. It's the Humpty
And,
Dumpty
and,
syndrome.
and oh yeah,
And
and then unfortunately, with the popular culture, the last conversation we had, we're talking about its importance, but then you reminded me. You said, remember, they have controls on that.
all day long. I need to make an
How,
adjustment on, I
go
need to
ahead.
make an adjustment on my microphone. Give me just 1 second.
Okay.
One moment.
And you're mastering that. You got to teach me everything you know, brother.
Indeed.
Yes, sir. You, you and brother William, man. Hey, y'all doing it, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm proud of y'all, man. Because see, somebody got control the board,
Yeah.
and then once we are able uh to pass on that knowledge to those who need it, because that's a lot of learners and instructors like myself who are up in age, but they're picking up this stuff, man. Like you know, it's a wonderful thing.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
I can't.
All right. All right. Pardon me for that interruption. I had my
Not
mic
a problem.
not connected correctly. All right. And I can hear you a lot better. So I was wondering why you were sounding kind of faint, but it's because of my configuration here. But we're still good to go.
Oh,
Everything will
okay.
be captured on and ready for the video. We didn't
Okay.
lose anything. All right. So the four birds. Now we know the four birds is a reference to the story of Abraham
Yes.
in the Qur'an, not in the Bible,
Yeah.
but in the Qur'an, the four
The Quran.
birds. And there was a question that Ibrahim, as his name is to be pronounced, Ibrahim. Uh,
Ibrahim.
yeah, there's a question that he sought to ask his source creator. And he asked him, he said, how are you going to raise the dead?
Yeah.
What a thinker that man was.
No, you know it.
In other words, he said,
Yes.
like we would say to our best of friends, brother, I hear you, but
Not that I don't believe you, but you got to break this one down for me, man. I'm not on that
Yeah,
level. Please give me some elevation. I
yeah,
want to evolve now. Give me some evolutionary information as to how you going to take these deadhead people. You're going to take these people who are drinking and smoking and gambling and beating their women and burying their babies in the sand and that sea. How are you going to take these knuckleheads and
yeah, yeah.
raise these people to a perpendicular to
Mhm.
where they are thinking for themselves, doing for themselves, treating each other well, recognizing the humanity in themselves and in other people, eliminating racism, eliminating sexism, eliminating chauvinism, eliminating classism. Allah, how are you going to eliminate all of these isms that have been
Yeah,
established in the world that are the go-to ideologies of this world? This is all they know. How to steal, how to lie, how to cheat, how to beat,
yeah.
how to elevate their ego
How to rob.
above and beyond normal.
Mhm. Yes.
How you gonna do it? So I'm gonna ask you to step in and give some more from your side, and then I'll complete my thought.
Well, uh, that's a good question, and it's something worth sieving and cleaving over. Uh, I'm thinking in terms of uh, the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam being exemplary as a true human, and in my understanding, it's the life you live in the present that Allah is judging you on, and He's judging you on what's in that uh, forebrain, which means your intentions. What's your niyyah? Why did you do it? Was it honorable? Was your intent honorable? So when we are living in the forebrain, that there's no hiding. The forebrain knows what it's doing. It knows what it's planning. It knows. See, and so it can accept the truth as a lie if it decides to do that. So again, being an exemplar to me that the best way uh, uh, to bring those full birds in existence is you be the model. You be the model. You live it.
Great answer.
You be it. Don't
Great
speak it.
answer.
Don't profess it. Don't profess it. Live it.
So, in other words, Ibrahim was attempting to be the model. In fact,
Yes.
in the Quran, as I'm sure you know, Allah calls him the model.
Yeah, that's right.
It says that indeed Ibrahim was a model.
That's right.
Is wonderful when you
Right.
understand it.
Yes,
Yeah,
it is. And then
he was.
also it
Mhm.
brings in the feature of being Christ-like or being anointed. Anointed doesn't mean that you're special. Don't mean you are free of sin. It doesn't mean that. It just means that you're enlightened.
Yes, you're enlightened,
Yeah,
and it's your enlightenment that chooses you.
absolutely. Yes.
It's not some foreign remote
Yes.
God that
Hmm.
puts his finger on your shoulder and says, "Tag, you're it."
That's right.
You were chosen because of your choices
Hmm. Yes.
that you are
Yes.
choosing to make in the choice mind, the
Yeah.
conscious mind.
Yes. That's it. That's
So
it.
when your mind becomes conscious, your being becomes enlightened.
Yes.
And when your being becomes enlightened, you're going to ask questions that
Yeah.
normal, ordinary people don't even think to ask.
That's right.
So, my answer for why Ibrahim was a model, and by the way, the word that Allah is using for model is ummah.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
don't
Okay.
ask me how those ancient scholars got the word model out of ummah when ummah clearly means community.
Yes. Now we're a
It,
community of cells now. We have 14 trillion.
Oh, we're gonna talk about that. We going deep
Oh, okay,
today.
okay.
Yeah, yeah. We going deep
Okay.
today. They might have
Go
to turn
ahead,
this
bro.
one on and then and come back to it. We'll still be
Okay.
rolling.
Go ahead.
But
Yes, sir.
the word ummah is a combination of the letters aleph and meme, given twice. Meme, meme, and it's the same root for mother,
Mm.
as you
Mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm. Mm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So how did the mother get this particular word? It's not all it means, but that's its primary meaning. They say mother, ummi, my mother. And the English word mom comes from because many of these English words come out of Arabic extracts,
Mm-hmm.
derivations out of the Arabic language
Yeah.
system and other language systems,
Yeah.
but primarily the Arabic letter system gave us these words.
Mm.
So
Mm-hmm.
Aleph means strong, the letter. It means the backbone. And anything you refer to as a backbone of something, you're saying that's a strong feature. You say the mother is the
Yeah.
backbone of the family. See how we talk?
Yes.
That means she's holding the family up like the backbone holds up the
Mhm.
back.
Yes.
So look at these two letters now. It's just Aleph and Meme.
Mm-hmm.
Aleph means strength or very strong. Meme means water.
Water.
So Aleph Meme means strong water.
From moral conscious, ethical conscious.
Oh, you got it.
Yes.
That's the strength of the true human
That's it.
being.
That's it. That's
Now, the
it.
strong water goes beyond that because the reason
Mm-hmm.
how she got that name,
Yeah.
is because she used to be the one to go out and gather water in her pot for cooking and cleaning and those other
Yes.
things.
That's
And
right.
she would bring home some water from the riverfront and she would boil it. She'd take it to the house and she'd boil it. And
Mm-hmm.
because it was from the ocean, it also had sediment in it, scum, we call it,
Right.
residue, we also call it,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when you
Mm-hmm.
boil water that has this river residue or this ocean residue, more
Yeah.
accurately, river tends to run the residue out of it. It'll keep running and it'll purify
Yes.
itself.
Yes. Right. Correct.
But the ocean or a lake or some other body of water,
Mm-hmm. Or the
you
sea.
yeah, the sea, especially with the salt,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
you're going to heat that water up and the residue is going to become gummy, like glue.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's what she was aiming for. She wanted something that was of glue consistency because she was using that to fix the apertures, they call them, in the tent, the tears that would happen because of just old
Okay.
age or whatever. You're living in a tent. Those people were
Right.
tent dwellers. They weren't brick and mortar people.
Right.
So as the tent would begin to unfasten itself, unloosen itself, its threads would become weak and they would stop binding together. Now, as I'm saying this, think about the family.
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
tent, the bait, which is also the word in
Yeah.
Arabic for house, for family. Bait and house share the
Container.
same word, bait. That's right.
Yeah.
A container
Mm-hmm.
that
Yeah.
empties and
Mm-hmm.
fills, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
as these connections in the knitting of the tent became loose, she had to come up with a method of reattaching them.
Okay.
And
Mm-hmm.
some of that could be done if you had strong glue. Today we would say super glue, that kind of thing, crazy
Yeah.
glue, that
Gorilla glue.
gorilla
Gorilla.
glue. Yeah, yeah, that's the best one out there,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Yeah.
she would take that residue from the pot after she heated the water and she would use it to begin to patch up. She'd take another piece of cloth from somewhere and she'd put a patch over it like we do with our old jeans we used to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that would stop the rain and the inclement weather and other things from getting into the tent. Animals, small animals, insects, and that kind of stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
she became known as the person who was in charge of that particular duty, the mom, the mother, the
Yeah.
So that's how she got her name because she represented the strong glue. She wasn't just regular water. She was reinforced water. That's why she has two letter memes in her name, not just one. The father
Mm-hmm.
only has one bait, ba. He only has Aleph Ba, Ab. She's got
Abba.
alif, meme, meme. Anytime you see
Mm-hmm.
a shedda, it means that word and what it means is being reinforced. It's
Yeah.
being strengthened. It's being
Elongated.
repeated.
Yes.
Yeah, you see?
Yeah.
All right.
Stretch.
So that's mother. And this is what Ibrahim was called. Now
That's a
I
shedda, right?
yes, that's right.
Okay.
Shedda.
Okay.
The little
Mm-hmm.
W on top of the letter. Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
it's being
Yes. Yeah.
strengthened, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
so Ibrahim, especially among those who call him Abraham, in the Bible and in the Qur'an in a different sense, he's called father.
Mm-hmm.
But this connection to him being an ummah, which is a feminine word, it means if you read deeply enough into the language, it means that he was the mother.
Interesting.
Yeah, he wasn't just the
Very
father.
interesting.
He
Yes.
wasn't just
Yes.
Abi. He wasn't just my
Yes.
father,
Yes.
Abraham.
Yes.
He was
Yes.
also an ummah.
Yeah.
So he took
Yes.
on feminine definition, feminine
Mm-hmm.
proportions.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Mm-hmm.
how can we prove it a little further? Because when he was first told by Allah that Allah was going to make him, what was the title Allah gave him? It's getting away from me.
Father of all the nations.
Not yeah, but not father. He used a different word.
Amen.
Yes, thank you. Imam.
Yes.
And Imam
Okay.
is from the same root as
Yeah. Yeah. That is. That is. Yes.
So
That is.
on the down low,
Alhamdulillah.
if we can say that on the down low, Allah was telling him, "I'm going to make you the mother of all nations." Not physically, not
Yeah.
biologically,
I understand. I understand.
theoretically, in theory,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
ideology,
Mm-hmm.
that
Yeah.
you are going to do
Metaphorically.
for your people what I have mothers doing for their children.
Yeah.
So look at the first question that Ibrahim asked Allah when Allah conferred that responsibility upon him. Allah said, "I'm going to make you the Imam of el-alamin, of all the people." Ibrahim asked Allah, first question, what about my children?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm
Mm-hmm.
sorry,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not a question that the average father would ask.
I know.
No, not if Allah said, "I'm going to make you king, Benjamin
Mm-hmm.
Bilal."
Yeah.
My first question is not going to be, well, what about my children? Are they going to be
Yeah.
kings and queens?
Absolutely.
That's secondary. Let me get into
That's
the
right.
job
That's a
first.
given. That's a given, right?
The average father is not thinking about his children on that level. When
That's
Allah
true.
says, "I'm going to make you this," okay, I'm ready. What do I need
Mm-hmm.
to bring with me? But
Right.
a mother is going to ask, "What about my children? What about my
Mm-hmm.
offspring?" And look at
Interesting.
what Allah said to him. This is so beautiful. Allah said, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Your little rugrats, I'm going to do something with them also. They can join you."
Mm-hmm.
He said, "But not to those who are among the wrongdoers."
Exactly.
Now, doesn't this
So
solve the problem that we have in the world now about the so-called people of God, the chosen people being the so-called Jews? And
it
and
does.
we're the chosen people no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what Jews have told me that.
You do whatever.
I asked a Jewish woman, a teacher I was teaching with in high school when I was teaching high school. I said, "You're saying the Jews are the chosen people?" She said, That's right, Benjamin." You see, she liked to call me by my Hebrew name.
Okay.
She said, "That's right, Benjamin. We're the chosen people." I said, "You mean you're chosen forever and ever?" She said, "Yeah, God did
Oh,
that. We're his people." I said, "What about the people who do wrong?" And I asked her this before I knew that
that's
was in
a
the
good
Quran.
question. Good
Yeah,
question.
I asked her this back in 1978.
Okay.
I said, "Well, what about the people among your people who do wrong things, who do bad things?" She said, "It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter. It's been
Wow.
conferred upon us. It's in our genes. We are the chosen people no matter what." I said, "Now, what about my people?
Yeah.
What
Yes.
about my people who do very good things, help people, feed the hungry?" She said,
Yes.
"It doesn't matter. You'll never be the chosen people."
Oh my God. Jeez.
Huh? You
Come
see?
on.
So look at what Allah put in the Quran.
Yeah.
He said, "Yes, among your people too will be those who I confer my responsibility upon as a steward in the earth, as a Khalifa, actually." He said, "But It doesn't, my promise, he said, does not reach the wrongdoers, the dhalimin, I think they're called. And that also
Darling.
is also alluding to people who are in the dark, who bring darkness.
Okay.
Dhulm is darkness. So
Dullah.
not among the people who are hoodwinking people and keeping them in the dark, not allowing them to see the
Yes.
light of day. No, no, those
Yes.
people.
Hmm.
So now you have a clear differentiation between the racial Jew and the true Jew,
Yeah.
because the true Jews are over right there in the land that they're calling Israel and saying Israel is not the chosen people's land. It's not even our land. You got rabbis
Exactly.
in Israel being persecuted right now because they're telling the
Exactly.
world that will listen to them, no, our people are not chosen like you're thinking chosen.
That's right.
You're chosen based on what you
Mhm.
do. You're chosen based on your actions, your commitment
Absolutely.
to the
You back
pledge
down
that you
to,
made.
yes. You're back to the model. Being the model.
You take it away.
Yes, sir.
All right, give me
Yes, sir.
some more, man.
I
Give me
can see
some
that.
more.
I think also too that there's confusion among the masses when it comes to Jew and Hebrew and the difference between those.
Speak on it.
Okay, and I think that this is again a part of the language engineers to make sure they keep that confusion going. You see, the just like when we look at how most people have the misnomer that all Arabs are Muslim, or most Arabs are Muslim, and they're not. Okay, so there's a lot of misnomers out there, and unfortunately, America is probably one of the most ignorant countries on the planet.
Yes.
Although the wealthiest and most powerful, et cetera, but in terms of the average person and their outlook on the global matters and the state of humanity, we are far so far from that,
Yes.
and people think that America is the epitome or the it's the ultimate place to live. They don't want anything outside of America. I don't even want to see. I don't even think about. America is it. No, it's not.
That's
We have
right.
a whole cosmos to explore.
Come on. Come on.
Yeah.
That's
See?
right. And you know what's wonderful about this, what you're saying in terms of the difference between a Jew and a Hebrew. The wonderful thing is that both of these words were never meant by scripture to apply to people and races of people, so-called races of people. In the scripture, now we're speaking about the Old Testament, which grew out
Yes.
of the Torah
Hmm.
and was introduced into the world through the Hebrew language. See, so how can Hebrew be a language and a people at the same time? The word
Hmm.
Hebrew means those who crossed over. The HE in Hebrew, he, is the same as the AL in Arabic. It's a definite article. So
Okay.
The word Hebrew is the brew. So now you have to figure out what brew means.
Yes.
Ah,
Hmm. The witch's brew.
oh, come on now. I don't want to be the one to start that trouble.
I'm trying to tell you, popular culture is a witch's brew.
Yes, it is. And
Okay.
this is not
Yeah.
talking about the racial Jew. What we're talking about now is way beyond this world's uh, appointment
Okay.
of
Hmm.
roles to people on the planet.
Yeah.
The conspirators did that. They
Hmm.
appointed roles to different people from different continents. They're the ones who said originally that there are three major divisions of races on Earth: the
Yeah.
Caucasoid, the
Hmm.
Mongoloid,
Hmm.
and the Negroid. There
Yeah.
were three. There were three, and they divided them between
Mhm.
the European continent, the
Yes.
Caucasoid,
Uh-huh.
those who were living around the Caucasus Mountains,
Yes. Yes.
right?
Hmm.
The Mongoloid, which they call
Hmm.
the Asian world.
Asian world.
They still
Yes.
say the Mongols for certain
Hmm.
people in Asia,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And the Negroid, which was
Hmm.
supposed to be the people coming from the continent of Africa.
Okay.
Those were the three major divisions of so-called racial types on Earth.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they began to give qualities and quantities to each one of those three. And they said that the most qualitative of those three, believe it or not, was the mongoloid. Now, why did they say that?
Oh, interesting.
They said that because the so-called Jewish stock is considered to be mongoloid, not negroid, and not caucasoid.
Oh.
He's from Asia. You get it?
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
he saw himself as being the number one type. Now, where's that given? In the Bible. The three sons of Noah.
Yes.
Ham, the black one, the
Mm-hmm.
African.
Mm-hmm.
Shem, the Asian one, from which the Hebrew stems. And then likewise the Jew.
Japheth. Japheth.
Japhet was the European.
Yeah.
And the
Mm-hmm.
European and the Shemite people, the people of Shem or Sem, the Semite, they had a working relationship, and they ostracized Ham because they accused him of laughing at his daddy.
Yeah.
Now, why were they laughing at his daddy? Because his daddy had got drunk. Now, listen to the
Mm-hmm.
logic or the illogic in this. This is in the
Mm-hmm.
Bible, Old Testament.
Yeah.
They were laughing at Ham because they say Ham watched his father get drunk, take off all of his clothes. This is a prophet they're talking about. That's why
Mm-hmm.
The Quran had to come behind all of this
Yeah. Yeah. I
foolishness.
know. Look, I'm trying to tell you. Look. Oh my God.
They
Praise
said his
Allah.
daddy
Yeah.
undressed.
Yes.
And listen, undressed not just in front of his sons, but also in front of his daughters. And beyond that, it says that he had intercourse with his daughters when he was drunk. He got drunk, took off all of his clothes, had intercourse with his daughters, which is incest. Huh? And
That's
then,
why we have a felon in the White House right now.
well, I'm not going to talk about modern politics. There's a lot I can say about that and what's going
Okay.
on
Okay. I got
cosmically.
you.
Yes,
I got
the
you. Okay. Go
cosmic
ahead.
happenings.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay.
You had a potential felon in the White House with the last guy that was in there,
That's true.
but he didn't get his felonious charges through the courts.
That's right.
He got them through his activities, his illegal
Mm-hmm.
activities here and around the world. It's plain as the nose on our faces, but we don't want to admit that because then all of a sudden we are Trumpite or Trumper or whatever they call them
Yeah.
people.
That's right. That's right.
I'm not divided along those political lines.
Oh no, me either.
The only line I divide myself is truth and falsehood.
That's it.
And Allah says that
Period.
truth is here and falsehood vanishes.
Vanishes.
He says it busts falsehood upside his head.
That's it.
The truth,
That's right.
it busts falsehood upside his. That's how
That's
you know.
right. That's
That's
right.
how you know truth.
That's right.
You don't have to argue with people. You don't have to raise your voice. Just start talking
Mm-hmm.
truth, and
That's it.
you'll see the psychological wrangling that takes
Oh
place in a
yes.
person's mind just trying to chew on what you're saying.
Oh yes.
So let's get beyond the politics. I'm not going to get
Mm.
our class caught up in that
No, I
foolishness.
understand. I understand.
That's
I
Satan's
understand.
snare right there.
Sure.
The
Sure.
red and the blue. Listen,
Yes,
you know how long
ma'am.
they've been running
Yes,
that
sir.
red and blue game? Since the time of the biblical Adam and Eve.
Yes.
Adam, they say in their literature,
Mm-hmm.
was created from red clay. They say that's what Adam means. They say it doesn't mean that, but that's what they say it means. Remember, they are assigning meanings to words like the ancient
Right.
Persians. In fact, these are the ancient Persians that I'm talking about. You'd be surprised how much
Mm-hmm.
ancient Persian influence is in the Bible.
Hmm.
The three wise men that came to see Jesus when he was born, they were from Persia. But just because we weren't taught that in school doesn't mean this is not the truth.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now.
Yes. Go ahead.
Man, oh
You're on the,
man, you're a great learner, brother. I mean, you just
you're on the road, brother. Go
all right,
ahead.
all right. Now, yeah, and Eve is related to evening when the sky begins to get bluer and bluer. So Adam is red, Eve is blue. And it developed a contention between the two, just like in our modern day, we have the Bloods and the Crips.
Yes.
And the Crips color is blue.
Mm-hmm.
The Bloods color obviously is red. So
Yeah.
the red and the blue game has been played for thousands of years on this planet. This is nothing new. What's
Yeah.
new is the truth that's going to crush that whole scheme in time.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we cannot get caught up in it.
Yeah, I know that's right.
You follow what I'm saying?
I know that's right.
All right. Now, those three divisions are the divisions in the Bible of the three sons of Noah. Again, Ham, the African,
Mm-hmm.
Shem, the Semite or Shemite
Mm-hmm.
people, Asians, so to speak, and Japheth, who represents the European stock.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, even Mr. Farad, who taught the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Mr. W.D. Farad, he came and taught the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and he was from somewhere else.
Yes.
He was from Asia.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He said he was from Mecca,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You
but
said that.
he pulled the old switcheroo on those people. He
Mm-hmm.
knew one day they'd grow into understanding it because he was talking symbolically, and we were babies who didn't speak symbolic language. We spoke literal language.
Right.
When our mother said something literally, we thought she meant that literally.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's how babies think. That's how
Mm-hmm.
toddlers think. They think in literal terms. When you get a
Right.
little older, you begin to learn symbolism,
Mm-hmm.
metaphors, metaphysical concepts. So
Yeah.
Mr. Farad said that black people were from Asia. He was flipping the script on the modern day Jew.
Mm-hmm.
He said black people are from Asia,
Asiatic, yeah,
the
Asiatic black man.
Asiatic black man.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
the Asia
Mm-hmm.
and the attic that he was talking about was right here.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't over there
Mm-hmm.
overseas.
Uh-huh.
This is Asia.
Mindset.
And by Asia, he meant Asia.
Mm-hmm.
Asia
Mm-hmm.
is a meditative state.
Mm-hmm.
Ask any
Alhamdulillah.
ask any true guru.
Yeah.
Say what you can look it up in the dictionary. Assiyah. It's related to what the Jews are calling the Sephiroth,
Okay.
the 10 points of the Sephiroth. That's a
Okay.
design
Oh,
that they
okay.
have where
Yeah.
it's actually outlining what the human body is structurally
Mm-hmm.
and functionally.
Yeah.
It's called the Sephiroth, and I'm spelling these things out for people who would watch this and copy down these words.
Okay.
Sephiroth.
Yeah, hold on. Let me write
Yes.
that down.
Let me know when you're ready, my friend.
Okay,
I
sure.
came ready for you today.
I know that's right. Okay, so it's S-E-P-H.
Sephiroot.
I-R.
And sometimes H.
O-T.
Sephiroth. It can be
Okay.
Separat or Sephiroth.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
And what was the English word, English equivalent? Yeah, that was a word that you said.
Boy, okay, it escaped me. You might have to listen back for it.
Okay.
I described it as the 10 points of, there are actually 10 energy points on the human body.
Okay.
So they describe each one of those points.
Okay.
And
Energy.
the lowest point in the Sephiroth is called Asiya.
That's what I was looking for. S-E. That's
Yes.
S. That's
ASSIYAH.
I. Okay, I see. Okay.
All right. Now I'm going to say some
All
things to
right.
you that might go over some people's heads, but you'll understand it.
Okay, go ahead.
Even in the history of our deen traveling from the vicinities of Mecca to Persia for
Mm-hmm.
Persian conquest of the Zoroastrians who were in charge of Persia at the time. The ancient
Mm-hmm.
Iranians are the ones we're talking about. See, everything you see happening in the world today, even with Iran, it's playing out what happened all of these many thousands of years ago. The game,
Mm-hmm.
the ball is still in the field. It's still, the game is still going on.
Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And they know it. They make their chess moves based on the historical movements that have been made in the world. And
Yeah.
Persia was the first stop for the
Mm-hmm.
ancient Arab in his quest to
Mm-hmm.
dominate the world, a
Yes.
thing that Muhammad told them and warned them not to do.
Mm-hmm.
The Quran clearly says, La ikraha fid din, that there should be no compulsion in the deen. Truth stands out clearly from error, so let those who believe believe, and let those who do not believe, nah, don't worry about them. I got them in the end. I'll explain the truth
Mm-hmm.
of all of this to them in the end, Allah says. So you don't have to go
Yeah.
trying to force your religion on anybody.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to go on this magnificent dawah escapade and crusade to turn all of the Christians into Muslims and all of the Jews to kill the Jews and slaughter the pigs and all of that foolishness that these fake phony hadiths presented to us.
Yeah.
Break the cross, kill the pig. What the hell is all of that about? Where's that in the
Yes.
Quran?
Yes. Yes.
Break the cross and kill the pig. All of these symbols, Muhammad,
Yes. Yes.
that the majority of people in a very small cadre of wise Muslims understand what that's talking about.
Yes.
But they refuse to share it with the masses because it will
Mm-hmm.
liberate you. Once you find out what it is really talking about, killing the pig,
Yes.
killing the greedy appetites in you,
Yes.
kill the pig.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never know. Uh-huh.
Crucify your lower nature. That's what the cross is. It's the crucifixion of your lower appetites.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That man's legs are not open. They're closed on the cross.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That door is shut in the sex
Yes.
department
Mm-hmm.
for the one they're calling Jesus. And
Yes.
even the name Jesus is a trick name. If he were here today, as you've heard
Mm-hmm.
many people
Mm-hmm.
say, and you saw him on the street and you say, "Hey, Jesus," and he wouldn't even turn around.
That's right.
He would not have
Yeah,
recognized the Greek name Jesus. He wasn't a Greek.
that's right. My next door neighbor, his name is Jesus, and
Yeah.
a lot of English speaking people call him Jesus.
Yes, because Jesus is
Mhm.
Spanish for Jesus.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
But Allah says Asa. Allah is straightening out the whole thing. But people who are not really students of this language, they don't understand.
That's right.
They just think that Muhammad grabbed that name from somewhere over there in the Middle East. Even the name Middle East is a misnomer.
Mm-hmm.
East of where?
Yes.
What makes you in
Mm-hmm.
the middle? How you get to be in the middle?
Yes. Yeah.
The middle of what?
Mm-hmm.
I love this, right?
Yes. Well, I was thinking about Saudi Arabia, and I was thinking about the state of the Islamic world now, and what being here in Las Vegas, I actually I see Dubai and Mecca uh, competing with Las Vegas in terms of
Yeah.
being a spectacular,
I agree. I
spectacular
agree. Totally. I
spectacle.
agree 1,000% with what you're saying right now.
Yes, sir.
That's
Yes, sir.
right. They've made a spectacle of themselves.
Yeah.
They are the expression of the worst qualities of the human ego.
Absolutely. You think the prophet be being doing that? No, no. That
They
and
are,
it's drawing people Mayweather. The people with money.
yeah.
Average people, yeah, average people can go there.
That's right. Mike Tyson, that's where
It
he
costs you
lost a
what,
lot of his
six to
money.
seven thousand dollars.
Yeah.
That's true. It costs $6,000 to $7,000 to go to the sacred precincts.
Yeah. That's the
You
casino.
see, absolutely.
It costs you five to
Yes.
six thousand dollars to go to Las Vegas and waste your
All right.
money. It costs
That's
you the
right.
same five, six, $7,000
That's right.
to go to Mecca for what they're
That's
calling
right.
Hajj, which is not what the Quran
That's
is
right.
calling Hajj.
Yes.
The
I
things you
asked
do
W.D.
in
Muhammad.
Mecca are
Go ahead.
not what is told for us to do in El Quran.
Yes.
How cruel that would be to tell poor people from around the world to travel and spend three and four, $5,000. Some of them have to sleep on the desert because they don't have hotel money like that. How
Yeah.
cruel would it be for Allah to say that that's a mandatory requirement of every Muslim, and there are some Muslims
Hmm.
who live like down the block from the Kaaba?
Yes.
They don't have to spend a dime.
Yes,
How
yes,
is that fair?
yes. Isn't that
I'm in
something?
New York, I'm in Las Vegas, I'm in Los Angeles, and I got to spend $3 and $4 and $5,000 so we can come see you. They don't even really want you to come to see the Kaaba. They want you to
Yeah.
come see how they living, how you're living.
Hmm.
So you can build in this false admiration for the so-called Arab people. And I say so-called Arab, that gets into a whole nother strain of history
It does.
in
It
terms of who
doesn't.
actually should be called Arab, just like we're debating now over who should actually be called Hebrew.
Yeah. Okay.
You know that
That's right.
Hebrew and Arabic shares consonants, you know. In Hebrew, it's
That's right.
BR. In Arab, it's RB. You hear me?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
BR and R. Okay. Okay.
yeah. And
RB.
they happen to operate in the world as opposites. The Arabs and the Jews.
Yeah. Isn't
They're
that something?
inverted culturally and in every other way. The Jews don't live in
Interesting.
the desert, they live in luxury in many cases.
Yeah.
They're over towns in Brooklyn and all, you know, all other places you go. Jews have occupied those lands. Not that there's anything wrong with that. And I'm not saying they're evil or anything like that. I'm saying that they
Hmm.
have also been coaxed into a plot, a plan, a scheme
Yeah.
that did not begin because they have Jewish genes.
Yes.
They have human genes, but
Human.
they have an overlay of cultural genes that
Hmm.
have
Hmm.
pretty much replaced or at least predominated their Jewish existence. They're not
Yeah.
operating upon the fitrah of their original genetics, because if they were, they would be true
Hmm.
human, like we're trying to be.
That's true.
They would share and
Mhm.
share alike. They wouldn't be trying to dominate. They wouldn't be trying to take over the media or any other idia or
That's
idiom.
right.
They wouldn't be trying to do
That's right.
that. They would
It,
believe in brotherly love. They wouldn't believe that they are the chosen people exclusively.
yeah.
Yeah, you can be chosen by God. God chooses people
Yeah.
at different points in history for different roles and different jobs,
Hmm.
and but it doesn't mean that He chooses you, uh, and everybody else can never be chosen ever again.
That's right. That's right.
And that's the
That's
conflict you're
right.
going to have. That's the ego. Again,
It's a huge. That's
that's
a
that
huge.
nursery rhyme.
Yeah. That's
Mirror,
huge.
mirror on the wall,
Hmm.
who's the greatest of them all? That's the
Yeah.
ego talking.
Yeah.
But it's just a mirror, it's just an image that once you turn the light on, you get to see what it truly is,
Yes.
because it's whatever you are.
Hmm.
That's the ego.
And you know the interesting thing
You are
too.
whatever your ego says you are, just like the mirror.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
You got dribble coming down. The mirror is going to show you that. You got
That's right.
a smudge on your forehead from working in the yard in the mud. The mirror is going to
Hmm.
show. The mirror is not discriminating,
Hmm.
and neither is your ego. Your ego
Yeah.
is specifically designed to make your mind believe that you are worthy.
Hmm.
Without the ego, you're done. But the point
Yeah.
is that your growth as a human being is not supposed to stop at the ego.
That's right.
In the body system, that Sephiroth we were talking about, the
Hmm.
ego is aligned with the third chakra,
Okay.
the solar plexus chakra.
Hmm.
But right above the solar plexus chakra is the heart chakra.
Hmm.
And you have people in the world, such as these people I'm talking about, who like to just land grab and money grab and all of that. They have chosen with their conscious minds, as we were talking about earlier,
Hmm.
to not elevate above the solar plexus because they wanted to be the light of the world. You get it? Solar.
Mm,
Yeah,
yes.
they wanted to
Yes.
rule. They wanted to be the ones you come to
Yes.
for the enlightenment. So the Jews in history are known as the people of letters, the people of enlightenment, the people of scholarship. In fact, the Quran refers to them as Ibaru. Ibaru.
Anybody.
See, we say
Hmm.
Hebrew. Hebrew. The Quran says Ibaru. And Ibaru is referring to those people whose hands were always soaked with ink because of their scholarship. They were just busy all day long writing, reading, scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're in that kind of mold, you tend to think that you know it all. At least you know more than everybody else, and that's what makes you
Yeah.
chosen. Why would anybody else be chosen if they don't know what we know? We write the
Right.
books. You open up a public school system in the West, we write most of the books. Our book companies produce most of your books. In the West,
Mm-hmm.
Japheth,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes.
Shem is
Yeah.
producing most of your books.
Mm-hmm.
And we're
Interesting.
we're depriving the people of Ham, the children of Ham, from that level of scholarship because they're not smart like we are.
Yes.
They are meant to do the dirty work. That's the Bible I'm telling you about. Now, it says that
Yeah.
Ham, the children of Ham, not Ham directly, but the children of Ham, the Canaanites
Mm-hmm.
from Canaan or Canaan, which is where they get the phrase canine, as in dog.
Mm-hmm.
The Africans are the dogs of the world, according to this ideology. In secret, they don't
Mm-hmm.
tell you that in the public. They tell each other that in secret. They are canines.
Mm-hmm.
They are
Mm-hmm.
Canaanites. They got a lot of bark and no bite. We can just
Mm-hmm.
take that continent. And it's just like what you said yesterday in class. Many people on Africa are now starting to wake up and say,
Oh yeah.
Japheth and Shem, we don't need your help anymore.
That's right.
We're
That's
realizing
right.
now that you're the ones who condemned us
Right.
to this fate of
Yeah.
poverty and
Yes.
ignorance and
Yes.
ignorance. You
Yes.
did this to us.
Yes.
So we reject your leadership. We reject
Yes.
your ideas for us going into the future.
Yes.
We'll
Genealogy.
make it
Yes.
on our own, or we won't make it at all.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they're
Mm-hmm.
saying to them. So the world is changing. That's why I say we're in a shift. So try not to judge
It
anything
is.
right now.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It is shifting. Mm-hmm.
So those are the three sons of Noah.
No.
But
No.
let me show you that
Mm-hmm.
same or similar situation in the Qur'an.
Okay.
Allah says that among the mountains, there are varying colors.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
He says, some white, some red, and
Mm-hmm.
some black. Those are
Yeah.
those three divisions
Mm-hmm.
that they chopped the world up into. White,
Yeah.
Caucasoid, red, Mongoloid,
Yes.
black,
Mm-hmm.
Negroid. But look at what Allah said about the black. This is so beautiful. This is justice for us.
Mm.
He said, and black, intense in hue. He didn't say intense in hue
Yes.
about the white and the red.
That's true.
And it's
Mm-hmm.
just now that modern day geneticists are starting to realize that the blackest of the populations on this planet are possibly responsible for all of the other people who are here. Elijah Muhammad said that, but he said it in different language.
That's earth shattering.
He just called those people,
It's
he
true.
just called the rest of the people grafted people.
Yes.
He said, you were the
Mm-hmm.
original
Mm-hmm.
man.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
we don't go with all of his speculations,
Yes.
but the man was on to a scientific fact.
He was. Mm-hmm.
And they know it. They know that the black people of this planet have dominant genes,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and that the lighter skinned people, particularly the European stock, have what are called recessive genes.
Mm-hmm.
So there's dominant and then there's recessive. All of this can be found in any basic science book.
Yeah.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
So we know what dominant means. And that doesn't mean better. It doesn't mean superior. It means that you are going to have an advantage in certain areas.
Yes.
So so-called black people have an advantage in places that are very sunny. Whereas
Yes. Absolutely.
The European can't walk out in 90-degree weather every day, 100
Mm-mm.
something degree weather like you have in the Sudan and these other. He can't walk out there every day. He'd be
Mm-mm.
sunburnt. He'd be burnt.
That's right.
So
Absolutely.
it's not for any kind of so-called racial degree or
Sure.
superiority.
Mm-hmm.
It's for your regional and geographic
Yeah,
benefit.
right. Graphical. That's right.
Because your black skin will be terribly uncomfortable in the cold weather of Alaska
Yeah.
or certain countries in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't be comfortable. You'd be breathing in too much oxygen because of your wide nostrils.
Yeah.
You'd keep a
Yes.
cold.
Mm-hmm.
You see these little European American babies, they run out in sometimes 50-degree weather in a
Yeah.
diaper. In a
Mm-hmm.
diaper. Their
Mm-hmm.
mother won't she don't put a hat on them. They don't have
Yes.
no nothing around,
That's right.
because
That's right.
they don't have to worry about the volume of air that goes into their
Mm-hmm.
nostrils. Their nostrils
Yeah.
are very small.
Yeah.
That's not an inferiority trait. It depends on where you are geographically.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Allah created us fi ahsani taqweem, in the most excellent of organizational designs. And he designed
Yes.
every people and put them in different geographies that were suitable for their particular structure, their body structure, their internal
Yes.
structure.
Yes.
This is wonderful, isn't it?
Oh, it is. Alhamdulillah.
So those
Yes,
three
sir.
mountains, mountain also represents government,
Yes.
like we said, because they rise incrementally and then they taper off at the top.
Mm-hmm.
just
Mm-hmm.
like just like governments do. We mentioned it earlier.
Yeah.
You have,
Corporate America too. That's
all of them.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
they
their
also,
model.
that's right. They also represent the corporations. That's right.
Absolutely.
All right. So,
Mhm.
and the white, the red, and the black also have much deeper symbolic meanings that have nothing to do with people and skin tones and all of the rest of that. It has to do with human disposition.
Yeah.
Human disposition. In most
Mm-hmm.
cases, when scriptures speak about white, it's talking about the purity of the human soul. When it speaks about red, it's talking about uh, the complex nature of social interaction. The blood carries
And that
so
is
many things. Yes, yeah,
that's the red. Okay.
yeah. Your DNA, your RNA, all of these things are floating through your blood. Your
Mm-hmm.
your blood's protection system. The white blood cells are in the blood,
Oh yeah.
being protected. The red cells, pardon
Mm-hmm.
me, are protecting the white cells, pardon me, are protecting the red cells in the blood. The blood is
Mm-hmm.
carrying your immune system on the most part. Most of the immune system is in your gut, and your blood is doing the most of
Mm-hmm.
the work of protecting you.
Yes.
So that has nothing to do with you being a Native American, Indian as a red man. It has nothing to do with that. Your red mannish complexion, your white mannish complexion, your black mannish complexion can be over with in minutes if you get caught in the wrong kind of fire.
That's right.
You might live, but all of your melanin is gone.
Mm-hmm.
You come out of that pink,
Yes.
but
Yes.
you came into this world see-through.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
As
Going back to the microbes.
you mentioned it. Yeah.
Going back to the microbes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You came into this
Mm-hmm.
world transparent.
Yes.
Look at the sign that Allah is giving us.
Yes.
Allah said, I brought you into the world transparent. That means I brought you
Yeah.
into the world so that people can see through you.
Yes.
They not only see you, they can, if they catch you early enough with the magnifying glass, they call it
Yeah.
the sonogram.
Mm-hmm.
If they catch you
Mm-hmm.
early enough in the first trimester, especially, they can see through you. They
They
can see your
can
blood vessels, your heart beating,
everything. That's
your
right. That's right.
skeletal structure,
That's right.
the exoskeletal structure,
Yes. Yes.
the eyeballs when they first start to form,
Yes.
the thumb as it first goes into the lips of the mouth. They see
Yeah.
all of that
The
early
heart,
on,
everything.
and the body, there's nothing there that Allah is causing you to give attention to that has anything to do with so-called race or ethnicity or what. You can't say
That's
his
right.
hair looks like a Mexican's head. You can't say his hair looks like an African's head. He's got an afro in the womb. There's no afro in the womb.
Mm-hmm.
There's no long,
Mm-hmm.
scraggly blonde hair in the womb.
Right. Right.
All of those cultural differences appear after you're born,
Mm-hmm.
and they are as a result of your environmental circumstances
Yes. Yes.
and your genetic circumstances.
Absolutely.
But
That's right.
what the genetic circumstances are presenting to you is what was latent in the genes. You see the word latent?
Mm-hmm.
It just means late.
Yes.
It didn't form
Mm-hmm.
first. It came later.
Mm-hmm.
There are things that are latent in our genes right now that have not yet surfaced for us as a people.
Yes.
I'm talking about our native intelligence is just beginning to reach the surface of the earth. It was
Yes. Yes.
buried
Yes.
under slavery, under Jim
Yes.
Crow, under
Yes.
oppression,
Yes.
under ignorance,
Yes.
mounds of ignorance,
Yes.
intentional miseducation of the
Mm-hmm.
Negro, as we would
Mm-hmm.
call, right? So those
Yes.
things were buried beneath the
Yeah.
sand, beneath the soil, just like the baby girls in Mecca. That's really what that's talking about.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It's not talking about the burying of
Interesting.
baby girls. The baby girls
Mm-hmm.
in ancient Mecca, listen to what I'm saying now. People are going to disagree with this.
Okay.
The babies in ancient Mecca were never buried in the sand. Didn't happen.
They were
That's
ostracized.
yes, they were suppressed.
That was surprised. That's it.
Yeah, it's talking about the
Yeah.
suppression of the
Yeah.
feminine
Yeah.
principle,
Yes.
not
That's
just the
it.
female.
Yeah.
Had they killed off baby girls in the way that we think they did, they wouldn't have a population because the
That's right.
girls have to produce the babies. The
Yes.
women, the women have to produce the babies. So if you kill off all the
Mm-hmm.
women or all of the baby girls, you don't have any humans growing into women to be able to have more babies so you can get some more boys.
Exactly.
They're reading the
Yeah.
Quran incorrectly. They've been taught that way by these same people who fathom themselves to be the smartest people on planet Earth.
Yeah.
Now you say, well, you're back to the Jews. That the Jews didn't manipulate the Quran like that. Oh, there was a certain cadre of Jews who did.
Absolutely.
Where were they at, Muhammad? Let me tell you this. Where were
Okay.
these
Now,
Jews?
now,
See,
but
people think I'm
I,
talking about the Persians, but listen, I am talking about the Persians, but now I'm talking about the Persian Jews. There were Jews in Persia
mm-hmm.
who became 20% of Persian leadership in their religion, Zoroastrianism.
Mm-hmm.
I turn over all stones when I find them.
I know that's right.
You understand? So
Mm-hmm.
these Persian Jews, and listen, it's as simple as this, and I try to make it this easy for people who listen at us.
Yeah.
All you got to do is Google who are the Persian Jews. Just go
Mm-hmm.
to Sheikh Google,
Mm-hmm.
and the answer will pop up on the screen in front of you. This is no deep dive. This is common
Yeah.
knowledge that we're not taught to chase or to
Mm-hmm.
trace.
Yeah.
So just Google Persian. Who are the Persian Jews? Persian Jews.
Okay.
And the story tells itself
Mm-hmm.
and tells on itself
Yeah.
that they were a group of people who took on much of the leadership in ancient Persia. So many of the things that we're doing that we think are Muslim things to do are actually Persian Jew things to do because they introduced the idea through
Mm-hmm.
the fake, phony, fabricated hadiths
Yeah.
that they, on the most part, were responsible for spreading there and then around the planet.
Yes.
It's a new history, but it's the true
Mm-hmm.
history.
Yeah.
You can be new and true at the same time, you know.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So,
Sure.
so this is the trick. This is the great game. This is the great scheme that was played historically so that the wool might be pulled over the eyes of sincere people who really wanted to invest in their belief systems. They really wanted to be close to God or the Creator. And they
Mm-hmm.
went to people sincerely, hoping that they would steer them in the correct direction.
Mm-hmm.
So the ancient Arab who went into Persia and into ancient Persia, he trusted his brethren. He trusted his sincere Arab brethren who were striving to learn the early manifestations of al-Islam. They wanted to learn that. So they were depending
Yeah.
on their leadership to teach them that. But when they went to war with ancient Persia, and ancient Persia lost to the ancient Arab,
Right.
the Persians lost 3 times. They
Mm-hmm.
went to war and they lost. So the Persians gave up and they said, well, let's strike a compromise.
Mm-hmm.
You think they're compromising now with these tariffs?
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, it's no new idea.
Yes.
So what they decided to do was compromise because the ancient Zoroastrian Persians, whose religion was under a god called Ahura Mazda. I'm going to spell that. Ahura Mazda. Ahura Mazda.
Mm.
And
Interesting.
they had other leaders and other gods that went under other names. but they were essentially fire worshipers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they were fire worshipers.
Right.
And they brought that influence of fire worship into the deen of Islam. And it was so
Mm-hmm.
saturated, it became so saturated through the proliferation of these hadiths that keep telling you about hellfire. You do listen.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they had a whole
Mm-hmm.
book out called I forget the exact name, but it was something of death, like the pinnacles of death or something like that. You know,
Mm-hmm.
very famous book written by a Muslim. Man, I read that book as a young, well, you know, about what was I, like 20, 21? I read that book and I was scared to death
Yeah.
of Allah, of Allah.
Mm. Mm. Mm-mm. Isn't that something? And that's a trembling fear where it
It's
should be a
literally,
reverence. It should be a reverence fear. Not
yes,
not not fear at all, but a
not
reverence.
mortal fear,
Revering. Yes.
conscious fear, taqwa,
Conscious fear. Yes.
caution in the intellect against doing wrong things that lead to wrong conclusions.
Yeah.
That's the
Yes.
fear, if you're going to
That,
call it that.
yes.
But the fear that they put us under with these hadiths, they had an angel of death. They had an angel for everything between being born and dying that's going to do something bad to you because you thought a wrong thought, because you made a misstep somewhere, and the fires, you didn't listen to your mother. You're going to burn in the hell. This is what a lot of Muslims around the world, this is how they teach their children, their young children. You don't listen to your mother, you're
Yeah.
going to burn in the hell of fire, in the Jahannam.
Let,
And
let me let me add this
yeah,
to our talk. I just came upon yesterday. Creflo Dollar made a admission, uh, and in his admission, he said that the church, his leadership, was using fear and guilt to build their coffers.
he said that.
Fear and guilt. Yes,
Uh-huh.
he admitted it. So he said, and I stand corrected. He said, and I'm asking you as a body now to any of my lectures or my books or my tapes dealing with tying, throw it out.
Truth has
Because
come.
I was I was manipulating using the manipulation of fear and guilt.
Truth has come. The truth has
Yes,
come and falsehood
yes.
vanishes.
You hear me?
And falsehood was an ever
Right
vanishing
there.
thing.
Right there, instructor.
You're going to find more and more people coming into that kind of awareness and admission. We're in a crossroads right now.
Yes. And T.D. Jakes, he turned over his leadership
Yes, he
to
did.
the
He
Benghazi
resigned.
Bush yesterday.
And
Yes.
much worse things are to come for him and P. Diddy and that type, because
Yeah.
they don't want to give it all up. I tell you who was
Yeah.
like that in history, but not to that degree. Elijah Muhammad. He reached a
Mm-hmm.
point in his early 70s when he started to realize that a lot of what his teacher, W.D. Farad, taught him was incorrect.
Mm-hmm.
It
He
wasn't
did.
wicked. It wasn't wickedly corrupt,
Yeah.
but it was corrupt in terms of how far it had moved away from the Qur'an.
Yes.
The white man is the devil. The black man is
Mm-hmm.
God. There is no other God
Yeah.
but the black man.
Yeah.
That ego thing again.
Yeah. Yes.
Don't you know I'm God? That black men in the Nation of Islam used to say that to their wives.
Yeah.
Sister, don't you
Yes.
know I'm God? And
Yes.
you're supposed to do
Yes.
what I tell you to
Oh
do.
my God. You
Do you
talking
know
about
the punishment?
psychological
Do you know the
damage?
punishment that will come to you if you don't listen to God? I'm God,
Yes.
and there's no
Yeah.
other God but me.
Yeah.
That's literal. I'm not exaggerating. You know, you were there.
Yeah. Absolutely. I know you're right.
All right. So
Mm-hmm.
that kind of corruption in the deen, in the language of the deen especially,
Mm-hmm.
is what Elijah Muhammad started rebelling again in the last few years of his leadership. But he
Yes.
himself could not bring his own ego to sacrifice the sheep in
Yes.
him, to be humble enough, like the sheep, to be sacrificed.
Yeah.
Because if he had said, I was wrong all of the time,
Mm-hmm.
he would have lost everybody.
That's
And
true.
he
That's
at that
true.
time had over 300,000
Yeah.
followers.
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
1974, 1975.
Mm-hmm.
So he said that in 1974, before his
Yeah.
last major gathering called Savior's Day in
Yes.
Chicago.
Yes.
He brought it to us gently, like a gentle wind. And he said, respect everybody. Now, this is a man who, the year before said the white man is a devil and he's got to go. He's going to be eliminated from the face of the earth, except for those who
That's
follow
right.
what we're telling them to do and just be. You can't be a
Mm-hmm.
Muslim. He said you can be a Muslim son, but you can't be a Muslim. He told the white people that.
Mm-hmm.
And a Muslim son is a term from Masonic language.
Yes, correct.
And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of what he said was Masonic language.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling the truth, whether people like to hear it or not, it doesn't matter to
That's
me.
right. That's
But
true.
that's what he said.
Mm-hmm.
But he also said that you should respect everybody. He
That's
said,
right.
and everybody will respect you.
That's right.
He said, this I mean from my heart. Oh, how
He
beautiful that.
sure did. He sure did. He sure
Respect
did.
everybody and everybody will respect you. He said, don't think you are so big because
Mm-hmm. He
God
sure
has
did.
promised you the kingdom. Now listen to this last line. He said,
Mm-hmm.
wait until you get in.
That's it. He sure did. That's it. I testify. I testify, brother.
Now, he had been teaching for 44 years at that point.
Yeah.
And he's telling you that even after 44 straight years of my preaching and teaching, you're not in the kingdom yet.
Yes.
Because the kingdom was in the deen. It wasn't in the language of the Nation of Islam. He's saying you're right at the
Yeah.
door of the deen right now, but I got to bring my son in to complete the picture
Yes.
of what Deen al-Islam actually is.
Yes.
He said, I'm not here. He said this in the 60s. He said, I'm not here to teach you religion so much. He
Mm-hmm.
said, my job is to save the baby from the fire.
Yeah.
Now, what would you not do to save your baby from the fire?
Had to clean them up. Had to clean up the vessels.
That's what he
Had to
said.
clean up
So
the vessels.
So these others, these Muslims from the international world and all of that who argue with him and hate him and call him a kuffar and all that, why are you calling him
Yeah.
that? Because he wasn't teaching Islam? He didn't tell you he was teaching Islam.
That's right.
He said, my job is not to teach Islam. My
Mm-hmm.
job is to save the baby from the fire. What
Yeah.
fire? The fire of commercialism, the
Yes.
fire of over identification with nationalism. We
Mm-hmm.
were beginning to burn up in our own sense of nationalism and
Yes.
black superiority.
Blackism. Yes.
Not only over so-called white people. We
Mm-hmm.
said that this grafting process that took place over 6,600 years ago by a mythical figure called Yaqub, who we thought was a real person in history.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yaqub, we thought that was a real person. He said they physically grafted
That's right.
white people, that the world used to be
Mm-hmm.
full of only black people. And then he started this grafting process
Mm-hmm.
in
Mm-hmm.
Asia
Yeah. Yeah.
that took us from black 200 years there to brown 200
Mm-hmm.
years there. Actually, no, you started out black. So it took you to brown and you stayed that for 200 years. He secluded us on a
Mm-hmm.
ship.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
they sent us out to sea,
Yes. Yes.
right? Yeah, they sent us out to
Mm-hmm.
sea. And we stayed out at
Mm-hmm.
sea for 600 years. 200 years we spent after being grafted from black to brown. That's 200 years. Then we were grafted from brown to red for 200 years. And then we were grafted from red to yellow for another 200 years until
Yeah.
finally coming into the stage where we were totally uh, stripped
Yeah. Yes.
of color and became these
Mm-hmm.
pale, skinny, thin-haired, scraggly-haired people that we now know as the modern day European. That's the history
Yeah.
that Elijah Muhammad gave us of the world
Mm-hmm.
and how the world got here. So the the Native American, who we call red people, they were part of that grafting process. They're
Mm-hmm.
not called original people in the teachings of the Nation of Islam. The people
Yes.
called Chinese people and Japanese, the yellow people, and this one and that one, they're part of the grafting process as much as the European is in this ideology I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So he taught that for 40 something years.
Yes.
So for his, now you see people out there, I'm saying this and recounting this for your benefit.
Yes.
You should know why you should know now why we give such honor to Imam Warithuddin Muhammad,
Oh,
the
absolutely.
son, the
Yes.
physical, the flesh and blood son of Elijah
Yes.
Muhammad,
Yes.
for growing up through all of that. And he had to become 41 years old before he came into leadership. He was 40 and
That's
41
right.
years old.
That's right.
Imagine living in your daddy's house or being associated with your daddy's house who was teaching that kind of teaching for 40 some odd years, and that's all you knew. He was your primary
Yeah.
teacher until you started to go into the
Yeah.
world and learn other things from other
Mm-hmm.
places. And then he had an inkling that what you were saying was not completely the truth. And he
Yes.
himself, WD, called Wallace at the time, he started investigating for himself. And he lifted up a stone and he found some kind of strange insect under it.
Yeah.
So he had to throw that away. Then he lifted up another
Mm-hmm.
stone and he found some kind of
Mm-hmm.
crazy kind of 17-legged creature under that. He had to
Mm-hmm.
keep throwing these stones
Oh yeah.
away until
Oh
he
yeah.
came to the truth. And the truth was the
Mm.
Qur'an. He had to read the Qur'an for himself. His father
Mm.
was not a Qur'an teacher. He was not a Qur'an reader. He was not
Right.
a
Right.
person who was advocating for the reading of the Quran. He said, "You learn that later." He said, "Don't worry
Mm-hmm.
about learning Arabic and reading the Quran." He
Mm-hmm.
said, "I want you to read the Bible." This is Elijah. This is the same one that they're saying should go to hell, should go to the hellfire because he wasn't teaching Islam. He
Yeah.
never told you he was here to teach Islam, is my point.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? We got to correct.
I
If we
do.
don't
I
correct
do.
the history, who's going to correct?
We
And
have
Imam
to.
Muhammad
We have
told
to.
me that.
Absolutely.
He
We
said,
have to.
if we don't bring them the truth,
Mm.
who's going to
Yeah.
bring it for us?
That's right.
We
That's right.
lived it.
That's right. That's right. Mm-hmm.
So we can't charge him
Yes.
with being a kufar, somebody.
Yeah.
You can only do that when you know what the deen is.
Exactly.
And he did
And
not
matters
know.
to judge matters to judge by intention.
That's right.
Okay, and us being particularly those of us who were ministers like myself, uh,
Yes.
we understood that this man was living by example. He was a human being,
He was doing his
okay,
best.
but he was a good example for us,
Yes.
okay, because we needed that strength to pull us out
Yeah.
of that triple darkness.
Yes, sir. And
We could have missed it.
let me tell you one of the areas that they accuse him of
Okay.
that is really not all his fault.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard some people, some so-called scholars teaching on this as though they are in a position to condemn Elijah Muhammad.
Okay.
They think they are, but they're not. They
Mm-hmm.
say, well, what about those babies? They always like to point to he was a pedophile. He was getting teenagers pregnant, and none of those girls were teenagers, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
they said he was a pedophile. He's messing around with all of these young girls and making them pregnant. And he was a pimp. He wasn't no man of God, a minister, and he never said he was an imam.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you the secret behind the appearance of those babies. You ready for this, Muhammad?
Yeah. Go ahead.
All right. That didn't happen. Several things didn't happen for Elijah Muhammad until he visited Mecca. He didn't go to Mecca until 1959. he,
Mm.
he was teaching that stuff since 1934. And all of what he was teaching was based on the Bible and trying to unravel the mysteries and the symbolism of the Bible,
Exactly.
not the Quran. He
No.
had a Quran, but he didn't know how to read the Quran.
No. No. No.
He said that's for later. He told
It's
his
all
people
Bible
that.
language. That's right.
So it was only after he came back from Mecca that he started entertaining the idea of multiple wives.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't come up with that on his own. He didn't come up with
Mm-hmm.
that because he read the book Iceberg Slim, the pimp.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
not that's not what happened.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So you people out there who are judging Elijah Muhammad along those lines, you can do what you want. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. I'm saying this for the sake of your own soul and a lot of the questions you might have had about the history of the Nation of Islam. He only started doing that because he was coming into information. I won't even call it knowledge. It was information from the Middle Eastern world of Arab thinkers and scholars that had convinced him that you, Mr., because of the notoriety that you're gaining in America, you should work for us in our interest. You should work for the international Muslim world because we can set you up in a palace. We can set you up with the finest homes, and we can choose for you the finest women. You can have a harem if you work out here for us and just represent us in the United States.
Yeah.
And they're still doing that. I won't name any
Yeah.
names of
Yeah.
Muslim African Americans who got
Oh,
caught
yes.
up into that, but they're
Oh,
into
yes.
that. They might have got
Oh,
a
yeah.
mesh, they might have got a mosque out of it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And a salary. I
Yeah.
know some of them.
Okay. Right.
Oh,
Now,
yeah.
boy, oh boy,
Hmm.
oh boy.
Yes.
What a story. You know, those of you who have not seen my stage play called Brother Imam, it's on YouTube, I believe it's still on there. It's in two parts.
I
Brother
loved it.
Imam, the
Yeah.
life, leadership, and the legacy of Wallace D. Muhammad. I'll put the link in the drop down box of this video.
Yeah.
You need to
Yes.
watch that. All right.
Mhm.
Now, that's when he began
I
to
saw it in
entertain.
Atlanta. I do a plug for you. I saw it in
Oh,
Atlanta.
good.
Oh yeah, I saw it in Atlanta. In fact, we hosted you in
Yes, yes, yes,
Atlanta
yes. Well, that was one of the
at
finest
the
performances.
library. That's right.
Oh,
So
yeah.
did. That's right.
That was a
First time I
wonderful.
had met
That's
you, and
right.
first time I met your wife.
That's right. That was wonderful,
Yes, yes, and
wonderful,
it went
wonderful.
well.
Yes,
Everybody's still
indeed.
talking about it. We enjoyed it.
Alhamdulillah. Well, tell them they can enjoy
Yeah.
it on the screen now on YouTube.
Okay.
We have pictures
Excellent.
of the real people, but we're doing the voices. I'm still
Okay.
playing W.D. Muhammad, and my wife is still Clara Muhammad, and all of that. So,
Yes. Yes.
I'm not
Yes.
even telling y'all. I'll have the link, and you just hit the link and listen to it. Especially those of you outside of the
And the
country,
love.
or those of you outside of the Black
Yes.
experience, as we call it. You need to watch that from the
Yes.
UK, from Pakistan, from Jordan, wherever you're from. You need to hit that link and look at
All over
this.
the globe, they have to
Oh
see it.
man.
That's right.
Yeah. All right. So just
Yes.
going back to the main point here, that Elijah Muhammad's ideas
Yeah.
didn't begin to expand. I won't call it
Hmm.
evolve. His ideas didn't begin to expand until he came into contact with these traditional Muslim viewpoints on marriage, women, and other areas.
Hmm.
So the Saudis wanted to give him wives. And he said to himself with a chuckle, no, that would get me into deep trouble with
No,
Pharaoh.
that's right.
But they planted the
No.
seed. They still planted the seed. So when he came back, he did it, but he just did
Yeah.
it surreptitiously. He did it on the slide.
Mhm.
But in his own mind, he was considering those women to be his wives, but he never
Okay.
admitted it. When they asked him, he said, no, I wasn't married to them. I don't know anything about these babies. He discounted all of it because he was here to save the baby from the fire, and he would do anything, including lie, to make sure that his budding nation of Islam, his baby nation, as he called them, survived.
Absolutely.
You do the same thing to save your children.
Yeah.
People think they wouldn't. They say, not be truthful. No, you wouldn't. To save your children. And they say, okay, well, you got to do this, that, and the third. And you got to say this, that, and the other. You be right there
Yeah.
saying this, that, and the other to know that your children are not going to be thrown into the fire and burned up.
That's true.
You'll repent for it later, like the brothers of Yusuf.
Hmm.
You follow?
Oh, yes.
So
Absolutely.
this is our
Hmm.
heritage.
The Honorable
I
Muhammad.
don't. Go right ahead.
Oh, I'm losing you now. I don't hear you. I'm not hearing you.
Okay, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
I'm not hearing you.
Okay, we're gonna try to fix that. In the
Okay.
meantime, I have to close this door because.
I can hear you now.
Okay,
If you want to
let me
repeat,
close
go
my
ahead. I can
door.
hear
Let
you.
me close my door because there's some noise downstairs. Give me
Oh,
just
okay.
one,
Okay.
give me 1 second.
All right. Surely. Take your time.
Okay, I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right.
America, America and the world owes the Honorable Elijah Muhammad a great honor and for his service that he gave to this country because he was able to turn around a lot of people that was heading to prison, that were in prison.
Yes.
Okay, people who were illiterate,
Yeah.
etc.
Yeah.
He brought many of them into a life of productivity. Okay, and also production. They went into their own businesses. They became they began to get back to their communities. He's done a lot for this nation
Yes,
and the world, really.
they were upright, they were clean on the most part. There were a small cadre of them that went into crime and began to tarnish the image of the Nation of Islam, but it wasn't the
Yeah.
majority. I was a
No.
young guy then. I was 11, 12, 13 when I first started to hear about
Mhm.
the Nation of Islam. And I was
Yeah.
14, 15, 16 when I started going to the temple where Malcolm used to teach, that Farrakhan at that time
Yeah.
was teaching at number 7, temple number 7,
Yeah.
116th Street and Lenox Avenue, as it was called at that time. So I
Yes.
was right. I wasn't reading about this. I was
Yes.
living this without becoming technically a part of the Nation of Islam. I never joined.
Yes.
I was always in proximity. I was the guy in the periphery.
Okay.
I
Okay.
wasn't the guy right in front of you. I was the
Mm-hmm.
guy on the sidelines that you could
Mm-hmm.
see only if you turned to look that way. Oh, there goes that
Yeah.
other little guy. I'd seen him here.
Yeah. Observing.
So I wasn't following any of the protocols. I was
Okay.
following the wisdom and the logic of what Elijah
Mm.
Muhammad was establishing and what Minister Farrakhan was teaching at the time. Very man,
Yes.
proficient, powerful speaker.
Oh, yeah.
These were our
Mm-hmm.
heroes.
Absolutely. That's
Muhammad
right.
Ali,
Mm-hmm.
who I think Allah, and I know you also have gotten a chance to meet him.
Oh, absolutely.
I got a
It
chance
is
to meet
nice.
him on 3 different occasions.
Okay.
One of those occasions was where we were in the same hotel room. He invited me up to his hotel room. Me and my brother, we were
Okay.
working on a script on the
Mm-hmm.
Nation of Islam. And he was in
Mm-hmm.
the script and he wanted to hear his part in what
Okay.
was at that time slated to be a major motion picture.
All right.
It's still not off the table because I'm
Okay.
slating it now to be a miniseries for television.
Yes.
All right. So
Excellent.
it ain't over till it's over.
Excellent. That's right.
So he and I got a chance to know each other, not close, but close enough.
Sure.
Can you imagine? Uh, I thought I could put my hands on a picture that I had. Well, I can put my hands on one picture. So this picture is him and my older brother, my deceased brother, Hachem Abdullah Bilal.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So that's us in that same hotel room, if you can see that. That's my brother on the left, and that's Ali, of course, on the right. And I had
Okay.
an opportunity to read to him portions of the script that had him in the starring role.
Okay.
And
So what do
it
you
was
think about it?
from 1960, the year that he fought Joe Louis. I forget which
Okay.
year that is. Yeah, but back
Okay.
in the 60s.
Okay.
And Malcolm had just been introduced to him and so forth and so forth. And Elijah Muhammad's teachings had just been introduced to him. And
Yeah.
I read a portion to him that made him cry. That's the picture that I have. I'm sitting with him reading to him and he's shedding tears.
Oh,
And at
wow.
the end of it, he said,
You wrote the play?
I wrote the play. Like
Okay.
I wrote
Okay.
the stage play and I wrote the
Okay.
screenplay.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So he said to me, and this was at the very beginnings of his Alzheimer's.
Mm-hmm.
He said, you wrote this? I said, yes, sir. He said, this is beautiful. And that's when he started tearing up.
Oh, wow.
And then he went like this. He didn't say anything after that. He just
Mm.
gestured. He said, he was asking me, how much money you want? I know you want me to invest in this. How much money do you
Yeah.
want from me? Because he was willing
Yeah.
to give it up. And
Yeah.
I said, no, no, Muhammad. I said, I didn't come here for money.
Mhm.
I said, I came here for endorsement. I said,
Yeah.
because I know if you call, I said, I want certain actors in this. and they have to be also of a particular moral character. They can't be people who are known
Absolutely.
for,
Right. That's right.
I said, I know if you call them, they'll come. He said, that's right.
Hmm. He knew
That's right.
it.
So
That's right.
I gave him all of my information. I got all of his information, phone numbers,
Hmm.
contacts. His wife was there in the room, so she understood what was going on. And I
Yeah.
guess she was reading the room, and she knew me and my brother. We didn't have any kind of evil intent, or we didn't seem like we were there to
Hmm.
steal from him or
Right.
put him in a trick bag. So we had
Hmm.
intended to stay in touch, but circumstances didn't allow it, and I know why now.
Yeah.
But I thank Allah just for that moment with him, those few moments.
Alhamdulillah. I know that's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And there was another moment when I was doing an early play called The Evolution of a Community. And it
Hmm.
was about the same theme, how the
Great
growth,
name, brother. Great
yeah,
name. I love that. The
it
title.
also
Yeah.
was about the
Yes.
growth, evolution, and development of the Nation of Islam to what we call then the world community of Islam in the West. So
Oh,
we're talking about
exactly.
an
Yes.
early enactment, which I think we did that play about 1987.
Okay.
We started in New York. Imam Muhammad heard about us from Imam Ali Rashid of New York, Harlem.
Yeah. Yes.
And
My
then
brother.
he saw a very primitive version of it on film that somebody had filmed from the audience. And Imam Muhammad
Hmm.
said, do you think you can get them to come out to Chicago and do it here at the masjid? Number two, can they come here and do it? So
Hmm.
Ali Rashid asked me, or actually Imam Muhammad asked me. He came to New York to speak.
Okay.
And he asked me, he
Hmm.
said, yeah, he said, can you come here to Chicago? Can you come out to Chicago and do this play? I said, well, Imam, I said, there are 10 people in this play. And you prepared to bring all of us? He said, yeah. He said, rent a van.
I know that's
I don't
right.
say you guys are young. You don't have to fly. Rent a
Yeah.
man. Do you know how quickly we rented a van and we had all of
Look
our
at that.
equipment because we were controlling all of our sound, our engineer.
Yeah.
We had everybody
Yeah.
with us. We were
Yeah.
and we weren't even in a passenger van. We were in a cargo van. Some of
Oh,
us
go
sitting on the
ahead now.
floor. Three women
Yeah.
with us. Three of
Okay.
my female cousins with us. Four actually, because my brother's
Yeah.
wife was with us also. Man, we had the
Hmm.
time. But when we got there, they put us up at Muhammad Ali's mansion.
Come on now. Look at that.
You talking about history? Just being in there and looking at what he had in there and how he
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
living.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
wasn't
Yeah.
ostentatious. It wasn't vainglorious, as they would say,
Yeah. Yeah. None of that.
but it was classy.
Yes.
From the
Hmm.
rug to the chairs, the couches.
Yes.
He had his
Yes.
place for prayer. He was praying
Hmm.
back in the Nation of Islam days. And
Hmm.
he kept that very, very quiet. It was very quiet and peaceful in his house. He had his pictures. He took us down to the basement and he had all of his boxing stuff, his heavy
Yes. Yes.
bag, his
Yeah.
gloves,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
pictures of it was just a
Hmm.
wonderful experience.
Yeah. I
This is
bet
really
it
the
was.
first time I'm telling the whole story behind my
I
meeting
heard a
him.
lot.
And I
It's
know other
wonderful,
people have
man.
had similar and even greater exchanges with him. But this is my
Hmm.
personal, this is me personally,
Yes.
and
That's
why I
special.
have such a high level of respect for that
Yes.
man. Now, people
Hmm.
can say, well, what about what he did to his wife? I ain't got nothing to do with that.
That's right.
I don't have nothing to do with Elijah Muhammad's wives
That's
and
right.
his
That's
relationship. That ain't my
exactly.
business. I don't have
That's
anything to
right.
do with W.D. Muhammad and his wives. That ain't none of my
That's right.
business.
That's right. That's
The
right.
only business I have to do with is me and my wife. And
That's
that
right.
ain't none of your business.
That's right. Absolutely. Well said.
So listen, man, me and you're gonna have to have a part two to this conversation.
Okay, you know it. You
I don't
know
want
it.
people. I don't want people to get too bored listening to hours and
Absolutely.
hours of it.
Look, it was wonderful. It was
But we
wonderful, and
we gave a
and
lot
so
today.
appreciate you for taking the time, brother,
It's my
brother
pleasure,
instructor.
man. It's my pleasure and my honor.
Yes, sir.
You know.
And I'm thinking too on that cultural bird. I had mentioned to Muhammad Ali Mali. I think his brother Bashir. Also, he's a percussionist, and they have some ideas, for the new cultural tsunami that's hitting the globe. It's not domestic. It's a global void because the state of affairs in terms of the creativity that's coming out of Hollywood, et cetera, et cetera. It's uh it seems like they've come to the end in
It's
terms of their
toxic.
creativity.
It
It's
is
now
toxic. They've
it's
come
toxic.
to they've
It's
come to
toxic,
the
man.
end of the road, as that group sang.
Yeah,
Boys to Men,
yes.
I think it was, right? They
Yeah,
talked
yeah,
about,
come to the end road. That voice you mean. That's right.
I think Glad Tonight and the Pips did an earlier version of a different song by the same title, The End
That's
of the
right. That's right.
Road.
That's right. That's
So
right.
that's what this
And
world has
and,
come
and
to.
yes, and I believe be good to be at the cusp, the leadership of the cultural way.
Well, we're going to
Okay,
produce. We're going to
because
begin
there's a
producing
void right
again.
now,
Yeah.
and particularly among Muslims, but African American and people in general, they're looking for something new, something fresh, something that's awakens and enlightens.
Yeah. It's going to come. And I'm going to tell you how I believe it's going to get here. It has to come through the younger generations, number one.
Okay,
But we don't have another 10 years to wait on the Muslims
that's it.
to introduce better ideas to their young people.
Yes,
Out so far, we've been introducing Arab culture to most of our young
right.
people.
Yes,
Not all of us. I'm not blaming everybody. I'm just saying
yes.
too many of us. And the young
Mhm.
people amongst us are rebelling
They are.
either outwardly or quietly in their
Mhm.
souls. They're rebelling
Yes.
against these
Mhm.
so-called version of Islam that they're being sold because
Mhm.
our people,
Yeah.
the Muslim African American I'm talking about,
Hmm.
on the most part, has decided to part with the true teachings of W.D. Muhammad and the way he expressed this deen.
Yes.
They have
Hmm.
acquiesced to following traditional, old school, Middle Eastern
Yeah.
Islam,
Yeah.
conceptually
Hmm.
speaking. Doesn't mean they're
Yes.
dressing like the Arab or like the Pakistani, and in most cases they're doing that also. We still don't have our own original dress. Our
Yes.
our sisters, our women were on their way to establishing their own cultural dress in our style.
Absolutely. That's what I'm talking about.
It wasn't
That's
a
it.
traditional khimar and
Hmm.
thawb and
Yes.
whatever the people.
Hmm.
That's not what we were doing.
Yes.
We were fashionable
Absolutely. You could be
without
fashionable and modest and
being,
modest.
yeah, without being immodest.
That's right.
You know, because you were there through most of this, more than I would say. You
Yes.
were there more than I was in this whole transition
Yes.
that Imam Muhammad brought about. So we have to be able to introduce this language again. It doesn't have to be through Nunetics. I don't think everybody will be attracted to Nunetics. And I
Right.
think some of the older Muslims in our association, they don't understand Nunetics because they're not
Yeah.
listening. They're not really listening to it.
Yeah.
When you get old like that, at that age, you
Hmm.
turn 60s and 70s and
Yeah.
sometimes early 80s, you're
Yeah.
not ready to learn anything new.
So I'll tell you what, I'm like a teenager, brother.
I'm trying to
I'm
hope that
like
they
a
will
kid
look
in
at
the
you and
candy
say,
store.
how old is this
Yeah.
man that he's this vibrant with this knowledge, with this new thing he's learning?
Yeah.
Man, maybe I can be like that.
Yes.
That's how they
Yeah.
should be thinking. But they're thinking,
Yeah.
listen, man, I went through
Yeah.
40 years of learning Elijah Muhammad's teachings and then found out that a lot of that was wrong. I'm not ready to relearn anything or to learn anything new. And that's their
Yeah.
position.
Yeah.
Let me just be
Yeah.
Muslim. I want to
Yeah.
die in sajda. That's it
Mhm.
for me. I'm good.
Yeah.
But the young people are not going to
Hmm.
think like that. When the young people finally
Yeah.
realize that this is here, Nunetics, and that all they
Yes.
have to do is turn their younger brother, sister, uncle, cousin, or whoever onto this language and begin to learn the nuances of it and command it in a way that gives respect to them and not to Instructor Bilal. Because you don't have to repeat what
Yeah.
I'm saying word
Yes.
for word. Just take the
Yeah.
concepts and work them. And
Yes.
these younger
Yeah.
people, you hear the rap lyrics that are coming out of some of our young people
Oh yes.
who have their heads on
Oh yes.
correctly.
Oh yes.
They have a command of this
Hmm.
language, the English language, that Shakespeare was shaking his boots over.
Yeah.
If you heard some of our young people, and I'm
Hmm.
talking about
Hmm.
what do you call it, extemporaneous
Yes.
rapping
Yeah. That's right.
with no predetermined anything. They just say we're going to
That's right.
talk about this, we're going to rap about that, and them young
Hmm.
they don't skip a beat. rapping
Look,
about
flowing.
that
It's
thing.
flowing like water, man. It's
Woo, man.
flowing. Flowing.
It's
It's
like the
flowing to
day
you, really.
in the days of Muhammad, when the revelation came to him, who were the best people in that society,
All
culturally
right now.
speaking? The
That's right.
poets.
That's right.
They had a high level of respect.
That's right.
And that's how our
Right.
young people are. We just have to get the vulgarity out of their language.
That's it.
You
That's
have to
it.
give them better things to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to see this evolution and this revolution happen right before your eyes. All you got to do is
Oh
live
yeah, it's happening
just a
now.
few more years. Yeah, just live a few more
Yeah,
years.
it's happening now. Common is one. John Legend. Okay, he's another.
Yeah.
Um,
Listen,
you
the
know,
ones I'm talking
it's
about,
happening.
some of the ones I'm
Hmm.
talking about haven't even, they're little babies right now.
Okay.
And some of them
Okay. That's
some of them
good.
have yet to be born.
Mm-hmm.
But remember, they're being
Mm-hmm.
born into a cusp environment. They're being born
That's
into
right.
a crossover frequency
Yes.
wise. And when this
Yes.
frequency
Yes.
hits them, you don't know when it's going to hit them, but they're going to hear it, they're
Mm-hmm.
going to see it, they're going to smell it, they're going to taste it, they're going to touch it at
Yes.
some point in their young lives, and they're going to be ignited. Their pineals are going to begin to be ablaze with inspiration.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh yes.
And
Oh
as long as
yes.
they
Oh
don't have to
yes.
be under the rules and long as they don't have to be under the rules and regulations of Hollywood,
That's right.
they're going to be on our side.
That's right.
And we will
That's
build
right.
our own industry.
Yes.
Mark
Yes.
those words.
Absolutely. Oh,
We
I
are
believe it.
going to build our
Yes.
own inner attainment, as you would say,
That's right.
industry, not
That's
entertainment,
right.
inner
That's right.
attainment industry.
That's right. Edutainment, entertainment.
Yeah,
That's it.
that's the term, edutainment.
So we,
Yeah,
yeah. So should we marry education and entertainment?
yeah.
And now you have a winning uh, husband-wife team.
I'm about to say marriage
You
team.
have
That's
both
right.
both of the
That's right.
masculine and feminine energies working together.
All right. So we're gonna pick up on
Thank
that
you so
next time
much.
we speak. And
Yes, sir.
we still have 3 birds to go, you know.
Okay, that's right. That's right. I'm looking forward to it, brother. Thank you
All
so
right,
much,
my
man, for
brother,
taking.
my friend. I love you, man.
Yes, sir. Love you too, man. And
And we'll
give your
talk
wife the
soon.
greetings.
You do the same on your side,
And,
please.
and just let her know, she's my doctor.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, she knows
Okay, so
that.
I got a few things. I got a few things that I'm going to maybe talking to her about soon.
All right. You
Okay,
know the
because they're
number.
running a lot of tests.
Yeah.
Okay, I will. Okay,
You have the
sounds
email
good.
and you have the
But
number,
everything
brother.
everything is on the upswing though. Everything's
Yes,
on the
indeed.
upswing.
Okay, that's great to hear. Great to
All
hear.
right.
Okay. So as
Yes,
soon as
so
this
you
is
be
ready,
well
it'll be up on YouTube as soon as it's ready. So,
okay.
all right.
Okay, alhamdulillah. You be
All
well
right.
and stay healthy, my brother.
Will do. Inshallah. Inshallah. Salam
Salam alaikum,
alaikum. Alaikum
brother.
salam, sir. Okay.
Alhamdulillah.